Thanks for checking out this movie review video. This is for the 2022 film Mandrake. It's a Shudder original and it's coming to Shudder on Thursday, November 10th. So this is a no spoiler review for that reason. I'm going to tell you off the bat, this will be a film for a certain type of person. Maybe one of these two things. I'm just going to say this. I think subscriber entropy stings. This may be a film for you. It is slow pacing. Even though I think it's only like an hour and 25 minutes, so it's not like actual lengthwise all that long, but it feels kind of long because it's very slow pacing, but it has good atmosphere to it, and it is folk horror. So Entropy Stings, I think this one's up your alley, and for anyone into slow-moving folk horror, it might be for you. But I'll talk a little bit more about things I liked, things I didn't really like that much. I didn't dislike the film at all, and you'll see that in my rating at the very end. It's just not, it didn't excite me a whole lot. But anyway, directed by Lynne Davison. This is their first feature film. Written by Matt Harvey, who also wrote An Act of Defiance, Future Shock Comet, and Hard Target 2. This is an Irish film, so just know that. If you have a hard time with accents, it may be a little bit tough for you. I know my father happens to have a very hard time listening to people with accents, whether it's like English or Irish, Scottish, Australian, whatever. I don't know what it is. I don't really have a problem with it. My mother doesn't, so I don't know. It's just him, but yeah. Again, Shudder original coming Thursday, November 10th. So I don't want to say too much on the synopsis, but it's about a woman who I believe is like a social worker, basically, and she's going to check in on someone who is kind of on release. They have like an ankle monitor, all that jazz, who's living out in a very rural area. So she goes from an urban area to a rural area, and it's folk horror, so the woods and the rural area really have a strong role to play in the film. And things happen. It's horror. I don't want to say much past that. I really don't want to say anything past that because I don't want to ruin anything. But definitely a very intriguing start to the film. I really like the pre-title screen kind of like stinger to get you interested. Very cool. It definitely makes you like, okay, where are we headed? What are we doing here? What's at play? And I also really like the fun little thing they did to the title font. It's not going to sell me on a film to do something like that, but it's a nice little touch. I really appreciated that. Very artistic. The film shifts location from urban to rural, and the journey there starts to give you the feel for where the film's going to end up being headed to a degree. And it is done in a really good way. First of all, it looks good. It's well directed. The cinematography looks good. And while I'm on the technical stuff, the acting is really good. And the score is pretty good for the most part. I have a little issue with the score, but I'll talk about that in a minute. But the journey from this urban setting to this rural setting takes you along with it, to give you an idea of A, like how far out this is, B, how isolated it is, and that really helps to play into the overall story, the atmosphere, just the feeling that the audience is supposed to be put in. So they did a good job with that. Early on, you become aware of very nicely done sound design. That's another good technical thing with this. Very nice sound design. There aren't that many films where you really take note of sound design, but this film actually utilizes a decent amount of moments of stretches with no music at all, no score laid in there. So that's when you can really focus on the sound design, and it's good sound design. It's very nice. It really does enhance things with the film. There's an intriguing strangeness to a character who's introduced pretty early on in this film, which actually drives a lot of intrigue and interest. If you're not like hooked into the story, you're at least interested in, okay, who is this person really? What is their motive? What are they really doing? Why are they a strange character, basically? And you're just interested to find out where things go with that particular character. So I like that. I like interesting characters that feel like kind of off or just quirky. So I like that. There's a very gloomy look to the film. It's very like drab, which I guess makes sense for kind of like the folk horror aspect of it, because it does really add to the atmosphere of the film. And just kind of giving it more of a folk horror feel to it. So I get it, but it's not for everyone. Like, I know there are people out there who complain and they're just like, oh my gosh, like every horror film now coming out have like these, leached palette films, just like looks to them where everything's like so drab. Yeah, which is why a lot of people were very surprised with a film like Midsommar for that reason. But yeah, just know it's a very drab palette. There are good stretches of no music, like I said before, but there are also some where they're basically screaming at you with the score. That's one of my pet peeves. It might not bother other people, but in those moments where it's like dread, horror, like scary, horror, whatever, when they're just like over the top, it feels like they're beating you over the head with the score. Like that bothers me, and there are moments of that in this film. It doesn't kill the film by any stretch, but it's just a little thing that kind of bothers me. There's a reveal in this a bit past 30 minutes, and I thought the reveal was kind of too obvious, in my opinion. Like, they could have done... I guess they could have done something different to kind of keep that concealed a little bit longer or a little bit better, and then once they would reveal it at that mark, you'd be like, oh man, like it'd be this oh my gosh type moment. As it is, I'm sure almost everyone will basically see it coming. It's just too obvious. Or I don't know, maybe that's just it, with the types of horror films that I enjoy. I like the ones that aren't done in such an obvious way. And so it just felt weird to me for this one to be so obvious. Now, it's not all super obvious, so that's good. Like, there is another twist to it that actually is like, oh, okay, this is a good twist. But there could have been another twist around the 30-minute mark that could have worked out better. A warning to anyone sensitive to this. Kids in harm's way. Kids in danger. I know, I want to put that out there. I know that's a trigger for some people. For like, they just can't handle that, especially certain parents. So just know that if you can't handle kids being in danger in horror films, you might want to avoid this one. The acting is good, like I said, quite good. Good, dark, creepy, woodsy atmosphere to this. There, I got it out. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's very folk horror. Like, one of the biggest strengths of this film, in my opinion, is the atmosphere, the kind of, just like it's dark and creepy and woodsy, and it starts like that as soon as you get to this rural setting. Well, I mean, the opening sequence before the title, and then it go in the urban setting, it's a little more upbeat and like brighter, and then you get to the rural setting, and then it's like this atmosphere pretty much from like that moment all the way through. So they do a good job of maintaining that, and it just gives a good feel to the film overall. It's one of their biggest strengths. There's a pretty solid twist about an hour in. That's the one I was talking about, like, actually being surprising, and I enjoyed that twist to the film. This is slow, though. This is a slow film, like I was saying. It is, it's slow. For me personally, I don't like when films that are like an hour and a half or under, and in this case, with credits, this is like an hour and 25 minutes. It felt longer, so that is not great for me personally. But like I said, like, I know there are people who subscribe to my channel who they'll hear me talk about that in a film, and they'll be like, yeah, that's what I'm looking for. I love that stuff. I just want to like live in the atmosphere of a film, and this would be a film for you then. So hopefully you enjoy it. There are aspects in this film that are about loss. I don't want to go much further than that, but loss is kind of the main subtext, thematic aspect of this film. So just think loss while you're watching it, and you'll probably end up getting more out of it. It'll be even more enjoyable, in my opinion. But solid film. It wasn't really big for me, but I'd really be interested to see what other people have to say about it. So if you've seen it, go ahead and put some comments down there. We can talk spoilers in the comments too, so go ahead and do that. Out of 5 stars with half stars in play, I'm going to give it a pretty solid 3-star rating. I did not enjoy it. I enjoyed it to some degree. I was going to say it in a really weird way. To some degree, I did enjoy this film. So 3 stars. It has some good stuff going for it, but I want to hear what other people have to say. Put it in the comments. Do me a quick favor, though. Hit subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. It is quick, painless, costs you nothing. And thank you. I thank you very much for doing that. It literally keeps me motivated to do this. You're joining this nerdy horror community and also, commenting. I love interacting with people in that sense. And I do respond to almost every comment. If you just say, like, I liked it, I didn't like it, I'll, like your comment, but I'm not going to respond to that because there's really not much to say. But yeah. Also hit the notification bell button because then you know when I'm putting up new videos, which I'm doing at least 4 a week at this point. Some of the weeks in October, it's been like 6. So that's a lot. Put in a lot of work. Anyway, thank you for taking your time to watch this video. And until next time, keep it brutal.